Today's guest is someone I think so many listeners are going to relate to. Most of us know what it's like to walk into a work carrying something heavy. Maybe it's a health challenge, a family crisis, a loss, or uncertainty about the future, or simply just a season of life that feels really overwhelming at the time. Yet somehow we still show up. We lead meetings, we care for our families, we answer emails, and we keep moving forward. And I think this is especially true for women. But how do we actually do that? My guest today, Mariah Swanson, knows this feeling all too well. Mariah is a wife, a mom of two boys, a director of employee relations, and an advocate for families affected by Grin 2A. And so today isn't as much about the story of the rare disease for a child, which we are going to talk about, but how Mariah has learned to navigate something many of us face in different ways. How we lead privately while carrying fear. How do we balance a career, caregiving, marriage, advocacy, and motherhood, all while living in what Mariah describes as the space between fear and hope? Please welcome Mariah Swanson to Act to Impact.
You're listening to Act to Impact with Brandy DeVries. Through heartfelt stories of resilience, hope, and community, I share my personal experience as a longtime advocate and fundraiser for the national nonprofit Children's Cancer Research Fund. Invite pediatric cancer families to tell their stories and highlight individuals who use their unique gifts to create a positive impact.
Today, I want to welcome everyone who's listening to Act to Impact and also take a moment to thank you for sharing and helping grow this community. Every time you share an episode, you leave a review on Spotify or iTunes or even on Instagram. Tell a friend about Act to Impact. You're helping us to reach more people who are ready to take action and to be a difference maker. So if today's conversation inspires you, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with someone who needs to hear this conversation. Mariah, what really got me excited about your episode for today is that we are going to talk mostly about how a person can lead at work while privately navigating fear behind the scenes. What's that saying? Like, you don't know somebody's life or you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And so I hope that today we're going to help not only people who are coworkers and maybe of somebody going through something, but how somebody who is in the thick of things at the present moment or facing a challenge, how they can still show up to lead, whether it be at home or at work, and be there for their families and for those that need us to be strong. But before we get into that topic, I feel like there's other things that we have to get to, right? So one, we have to hear about your son, Marcus, and I want to hear about that. But before we get into Marcus's story, I want to get to know you better first, and I want listeners to get to know you as well. So, Mariah, when people meet you today, they probably know you through work and as an advocate for the work that you do with Grin 2A and as Marcus's mom, or as a mom, or somebody's wife, right? But if we met you 5 years ago, before Marcus's diagnosis, would you want people to know about you, and what did your life look like then?
I think before everything, before the last year, I thought I measured success very differently, and I was very, very extremely driven as far as like school and my career. I have a lot of ambitions and was always looking for how to reach the next goal. And after everything with Marcus's diagnosis and that journey and this advocacy work where I am today, I've slowed down a lot, and I am a lot more patient and a lot more empathetic and flexible than I used to be. Before, I was very, very structured and always planned everything out and needed everything to be perfect. And now I live in a world where there's a lot of uncertainty and I can't plan for the future as easily as I thought I could, or I can't find the answers. I can't just Google certain things anymore. And so that before. I was a lot more structured, and now I'm a lot more flexible and just a lot more patient generally.
What type of hobbies do you have?
I love playing golf, whether it's mini golf or actually on the golf course. I also love reading a lot, love a lot of romantic type books or just like easy, good feel type of books and all the movies. I'm a big Marvel and Harry Potter fan.
Have you been to Universal's World of Harry Potter yet?
No, not yet. We cannot wait to go there. Just waiting until the kids are a little bit older, but that is definitely in our future.
Yeah, we took our son there for Thanksgiving, and man, he liked it because he has been watching and he's 7, but he's been watching the Harry Potter movies for several years now. We haven't gotten to the books yet. He knows there are books, but he's watched all the movies, loves them, and so, yeah, Harry Potter World was really cool
Just
for
magical, I bet.
I can't wait till you get to go.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys will probably maybe show him the show when that comes out too.
The which one?
Harry Potter's coming out with a TV show. TV series is coming out. Yep. It's like a whole new cast. And I don't necessarily know like the storyline necessarily, but they recently, just maybe a couple months ago, released what the cast looks like, at least the main characters. So,
I wanna move into Marcus now, and Marcus is only 3, right?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, and so you found out about his diagnosis a year ago. Okay, and it sounds like it was a very sudden developmental regression that kind of perked your ears up, and there were some red flags, and so as a parent, I mean, that's hard for any parent, but do you mind taking us back to that moment when you started noticing some developmental regressions with Marcus, and what was the regression that you realized that I might need to look into this?
hmm So from birth to about 2, he had been developing and learning and hitting all his milestones either on time or early. Where we started noticing things that were in areas that just didn't make sense. There were words that he would say today, but then not be able to say tomorrow. He used to be able to tell us, like, I love you, and we are a bilingual household. So he also was exposed to Laotian. And he used to say, I love you in Lao, or pick me up in Lao, or I want to be carried in Lao, and just completely went away. He didn't understand it. He couldn't say it anymore. A lot of skills like walking started looking different, and a lot of just everything a 2-year-old would be doing just seemed like it was just a lot harder for him. So for a while, it felt like we were watching pieces of Marcus slowly drift away without understanding why. And for a little bit of time, we were telling ourselves it's a phase. He's gonna grow up. It's gonna catch up. Everything's gonna be okay. But just deep down in our gut, we knew something wasn't right. He was also a really easy sleeper. He would put himself to sleep in the crib, and then just one day out of the blue, he needed a lot more help and support to get to sleep. And even when getting to sleep, he had so very disruptive nights. We were continuing to search for answer. We went through a lot of video footage of him as we were recording him through his life and shared one with this pediatrician who told us that we needed to go to the emergency room right away. She thought there was some seizure activity occurring, that she wanted him checked out. And so that sparked our diagnostic journey, and that's where we eventually learned he has the genetic disorder of GRIN2A, which is how GRIN2A affects how brain cells communicate with one another. And the simplest way I can explain it is the pathways in Marcus's brain can't send and receive information that the way it's supposed to. And so, right, the brain controls so many things: speech, learning, development, behavior, seizure. And he has a tiny change in that gene that nearly affects all parts of his life. And what Marcus has GRIN2A, but another kid that has GRIN2A can look completely different. But for Marcus in particular, he will have developmental regression, so he'll improve for a couple days and then backslide for a few. So it sometimes feels like we're doing 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, 10 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's a weird dance. He also has epilepsy, speech challenges, very dysregulated, and he eventually got an autism diagnosis. And GRIN2A is extremely rare. We have to travel for specialty care out of state into Colorado. And even though we have a name for the diagnosis, it didn't give us a roadmap for because of how rare it is. And one of the hardest things that was hard for me to admit during the diagnostic journey was I felt like I was meeting a different Marcus than the one that I thought I knew. And it wasn't because necessarily he had changed but it was the future I had imagined for him looked completely different. And I realized I wasn't necessarily grieving Marcus, I was just kind of grieving my expectations. But he's still very loving, stubborn, and determined all at the same time. And again, before Marcus, I thought if I worked hard enough, I planned carefully, loved fiercely enough, I can control my outcomes. Marcus just is teaching me that life's most important lessons comes when that control is taken away. So he's teaching me a lot of perspective and humility, and progress doesn't have to look the same from everybody. And he didn't become someone different. He's just helping me become a little bit different.
When you started on that diagnostic journey, since it's rare, Grin 2A is rare,
Yeah.
what did the doctors originally maybe think it was?
They knew that first day we went to the ER after our pediatrician called us, they knew he was having seizures. And it was seizures that we didn't know were happening. It's just happening in his brain. And they could not give us answers. We did spinal taps, we did imaging, we had MRIs, X-rays, all these things, and they just could not give us an answer. And it wasn't until we did the full genome testing that they narrowed it down to Grin 2A. But until then, they're like, I don't know how to help you. And if we don't get an answer to this or get his seizures under control, which they're still not, they told us that he may not make it to his fifth birthday.
Do they still believe that even though they know it's Grin 2A?
Now that we know it's Grin 2A, no doctor will give us an answer. They said, maybe, maybe not.
It's heartbreaking.
There are other children and adults that have Grin 2A that are older than 5.
Mhm.
But with his very specific variant, because it's so rare, and I think there's more people out there that have it that we just don't know because of testing purposes. But his very, very specific variant, there's only 4 kids out there, and he is one of those 4, and 2 have already passed away before 5. But that's where we have that fear, but we're also still very hopeful because he is doing amazing and he has amazing days.
Knowing that, what does your day-to-day with Marcus and your family and your other child, what's that look like?
It's so tough. Our days don't look the same, and even our hours don't look the same. Those words, hearing that there's a potential prognosis, even though there's no guarantee one way or the other, the next morning still comes. Great, Marcus still needs breakfast. Grayson still needs his mom. My husband still needs his partner, and I still have a career to show up for. I still work full time. There's also medications to give, therapies to attend, appointments to schedule, and a family to care for while also trying to be a friend, maintain friendships. And that's where living that gray looks like. I often take a call from a doctor or the clinic and then quickly have to wipe my tears and then show up to a work meeting right after that. I review test results while still helping with bedtime. I carry a lot of uncertainty while continuing to move forward because life can't stop when I'm waiting for answers. And what surprised me the most is my husband and I get excited about things that most people probably don't notice. Today, Marcus started initiating conversation on his own with some back and forth, or we celebrate when he transitions from one activity to another really easily, or walking through a busy grocery store without being overwhelmed. And sometimes we'll catch each other's eye from across the room and silently think the same thing, like, "Did you see that?" Because we're just proud of him when those things happen. But the fear is real. His epilepsy is very unpredictable. He has very little awareness to danger and the level of trust that makes him very vulnerable. His tantrums are intense, scary, and sometimes dangerous, and things can change in a matter of seconds. So second we're celebrating a breakthrough, and the next we're navigating a challenge we didn't see coming. We just keep thinking about, like, we carry fear in one hand and hope in the other, and we just have to continue forward anyways.
Where have you and your husband found support?
We have found a lot of support through CureGrin. CureGrin is a foundation that supports research for a cure for Grin. Grin 2A is under a family of GRI disorders, so there's other GRI type disorders, and it's just the gene name. And that's the biggest key factor of support. And then we have a very great large family too that's really extremely supportive from a day-to-day perspective too.
I think I saw on your Instagram profile too that you guys recently were doing a fundraising activity for Grin 2A to raise awareness and to raise funds. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, in June, Pure Grin hosts a Get Moving with Gree fundraiser. It's a month-long fundraiser that a family can sign up to try to fundraise funds for research with just committing to some sort of movement daily or over the course of the month. A lot of people commit to a number of miles over the course of a month or get together to do a walk in the park or go swimming just to get your body moving because a lot of grief disorders have a lot of mobility challenges. And so it's just to encourage movement and also, again, helping raise the research and awareness because all those funds helps be able to provide more support, more outreach, and allow those scientists and researchers to be able to spend more time and energy on helping these kids succeed in life.
How have you found that the advocacy is going on letting people know more about this rare, I guess, what do you call it? Disorder?
Yeah.
Or how are you spreading the word about it so that there can be more funding for research?
I think it's a great start, but I do think we're just scratching the surface because it is just so rare. And so it's very parent driven and family driven, which is amazing because we have the lived in experience to be able to talk about it. But I think a lot of the families, as we connect together frequently, are trying to do outreach to apply for grants, to reach out to have conversations with podcasts like this one, doing a lot of outreach for newsletters to get out there, and then trying to work with like state and local governances to get awareness that way too. In March, it's Grief Disorders Awareness Month, and I was able to connect with the Hennepin County, because that's the county we live in, commissioners to recognize Grief Disorders Awareness Month in the state of Minnesota. So I was very, very appreciative of that. So just continuing to scream from the rooftops.
Oh, well, congratulations on that. How many families in Minnesota are you aware of that are affected by Grin 2A or one of the grief disorders?
I don't know one.
You don't know one?
No.
You guys, you're the only one that you know of. Oh my gosh. So you have to go outside of the state and your immediate surrounding to find other parents who are going through the same thing as you.
Yeah, so there are other I know of one family that has a GRI disorder, a different GRI disorder than Marcus, but Grin 2A in particular, I don't know one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That itself must be hard though, too. I mean, it's time consuming too to try to reach out to people that have these shared experiences. It takes time to like, yeah, even reach out to like the Hennepin County, to legislators and that type of thing too. So, wow. Do you feel alone then?
It's extremely lonely. I think I still cry every day, and it's been a year, and I don't think it'll slow down. The emotions. I'm just a very emotional person generally too. It is very lonely, and I had mentioned earlier I know of four that is has Marcus's specific variant, and one's in Canada, one's in Germany, and I don't know where the other one is, and Marcus is the fourth.
Okay.
And so we battle time zones to be able to connect. And so it is extremely lonely. And however, I do try to connect with some of the other families with different grief disorders, and that is helpful too. I think it's similar and it's still a community, which is great. But sometimes I just have to I rely heavily on my husband, and I told him the other day, man, you get the worst of me sometimes. You get the exhausted, deflated version of me at the end of the day.
What would you say to someone who's listening who is carrying some type of uncertainty right now of their own, whether it is a diagnosis or a loss, just clearly fully something out of your control?
I would tell them that it's okay to stop searching for certainty. I think when we are facing something painful, like a life change, diagnosis, a loss, we convince ourselves we'll finally be okay when we have all the answers and we have all the ducks in a row, T's crossed, I's dotted. We will know what's going to happen next so we can make that plan. because sometimes those answers aren't going to come, or they come much later than we had hoped. And what I've learned is peace doesn't come from certainty. It just comes from accepting that you can move forward without it. And that doesn't mean giving up hope. And it doesn't mean pretending that everything's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have hard days. It just means you're allowing yourself to live your life while the questions remain unanswered. For a long time, I spent a lot of my energy worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow. But then I risked missing what was happening today. And Marcus taught me that today's moments matter too, and the reality is none of us are promised tomorrow. He's forced me to confront the truth much earlier than most parents probably want to. And so if you're carrying something heavy right now, I think my advice is simple. Don't wait for certainty before allowing yourself to feel joy too.
Mariah, you have so much like a wisdom, and despite something that is very challenging for your family and painful as a parent to see your son go through, you just have such positive words around this too, and such a
Thank
positive
you.
outlook. And where's that come from?
Marcus and Grayson, who's my oldest son, deserve the best parent to fight for them. And I just love them to pieces. I chose to have them out of love. And I will scream from the rooftops for them. And I think that's where the hope side of my fear and hope comes from. I have a duty to set them up for success in life because I chose to bring them into this world. And I have to teach them to be positive when we're given lemons. And I want them to model that type of behavior. So I think my positivity comes from I hope my kids can act like this one day too. But also know it's okay to cry every day
Yeah.
about it.
I think that's important to show emotions and let kids see adults have real emotions sometimes too. So gives
Yeah.
them permission to do it as well. So if Marcus listens to this episode, or when he listens to this episode someday when he's older, because we're going to be positive about this, he will. What is one thing you want him to know about how he has changed your life?
Thank you for asking this. This is I think one of my favorite questions. And so I'm just going to speak to Marcus because he will listen to this one day. Marcus, if you ever listen to this one day, I want you to know one thing. You are never a tragedy in our story. You're never a burden, and you were never something that needed to be fixed. You are our son and loved exactly the way you are. There were times that the diagnosis, seizures, therapies, appointments, and test results take up a lot of space in our life. But when I think about you, that's not the first thing I see first. I see your laugh, determination, stubbornness, and personality, and the way you light up when you're excited about something, and the way that your brother loves and adores you. The way your dad and I still catch each other's eyes when you do something new and silently celebrate because we know how hard you worked for it. People often ask how you've changed my life, and the truth is you change it every day, and not because you have a diagnosis, but because of who you are. You've taught me to slow down, celebrate progress, celebrate today, enjoy moments that most people would overlook. You remind me that strength isn't loud and sometimes showing up, trying again, and refusing to quit. For a long time, I thought my job was to teach you how to navigate the world. What I, c- but what I continue to learn is that you're teaching me how to live in it. So if you remember nothing else from this conversation, please remember you never have to earn my love, not through milestones, words, accomplishments, or anything you have to overcome. You are enough on your hardest days, best days, and you're enough exactly as you are, no matter what the future holds. I hope you know that I am proud of you, not because of what can achieve or what the doctors say or what challenges you face. I am proud of you. If I had to choose, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I would choose you every day. Even knowing every hard day, every hospital stay, tear, every unknown, I would still choose you because being your mom has been the greatest privilege of my life, and I will spend the rest of my life being grateful that I get a front row seat to yours. I will always be in your corner, and thank you for teaching me that life isn't about certainty and more about love, resilience, and showing up for the people that matter.
Marcus and Grayson are so lucky to have you, and I can tell how lucky you feel to have them in your lives.
Yes, I am
Well, thank you for
so
sharing.
blessed.
That was
Yeah, thank you
very enough, Mariah.
for giving me the space.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait until he is able to hear that and listen to that someday and really understand it. Yeah, there's a lot of love in there. So you're a director of employee relations. So tell me what that means and what your role is.
I know it's a weird title. I've worked in HR or human resources for about 12 years, and today I lead employee relations or ER for short for a restaurant holding company for more than 5,000 employees across the US. At its core, my job is really about people. I help leaders navigate some of the most challenging situations they face as it involves employees. This can include workplace investigations, conflict resolution, performance concerns, accommodations, leave requests, or policy guidance. I try to help leaders make fair and consistent decisions. So I partner closely with our legal team and leadership on employment law matters, compliance, risk management, complex or type of really issues to just ensure that we're making thoughtful decisions while also being legally compliant and aligned with the company's values. A big part of my role is balancing the needs of the employee and business. So I'm here to help make sure employees are treated fairly while creating a workplace where employees can be successful, but leaders can effectively lead their team. So on any given day, I might be coaching a leader through a difficult conversation, conducting an investigation, reviewing a legal employment matter, or assessing legal and compliance risks, partnering with attorneys, or resolving workplace issues before they become a bigger issue. At the end of the day, my role is helping people navigate difficult situations in a fairness, empathetic, and accountable way.
Yeah, so I mean, you have a big job because you need your employees to be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. And
And
yep,
the big yes, you gotta keep everybody, you're like the peacemakers.
yes.
So how has Marcus's diagnosis affected your career? I mean, I'm hearing a lot of parallels in between caregiving at home and then taking care of
Caregiving at work. Yeah.
yeah.
Gosh, it's affected my career in a big way, but probably not necessarily in the way that people expect. So it didn't necessarily make me less ambitious. It's just changed my perspective on what success means. And so, again, I used to measure a lot of my life's accomplishments by the next promotion, the next goal, the next milestone. And so what Marcus has taught me or what has changed is I found myself in a situation where no matter the amount of effort, research, or planning, I can't guarantee an outcome, which is incredibly humbling. I am a lot more of an empathetic leader than I used to be. I'm a lot more patient. I'm a lot more aware now that everyone is carrying something you may never see. When employees struggle, I understand that it can sometimes be a personal matter that's affecting their work. For example, like personally, I've taken calls from doctors right before a meeting, and I have 2 minutes to gather myself before I have to lead a meeting or coach an employee or a leader. I've reviewed test results in the car. I worry about my conversation while in the back of my mind while leading conversations that require me to be calm, confident, and present. So this experience changed how I show up for people. I still deeply care about my career. I still work hard. I still have goals and ambitions for myself. It's just I also advocate for Marcus and show up for Grayson. And I'm still building a strong marriage through these hard seasons. He's made me a lot more of an intentional leader. So he's also reminded me while my careers are important, people are everything. At the end of the day, the title on my business card will never matter more to me than being Marcus's and Grayson's mom.
Do you tell your coworkers about Marcus's diagnosis? Do you tell them or share what you're going through with certain coworkers, with the teams that you're leading? And what would you recommend somebody do if they find themselves in that situation?
No, my coworkers do not know. Actually, a thing, and my direct manager did not know for a very long time. She only recently learned a little bit more, so she knows the name of Prin2A. She knows seizure and epilepsy. I have a lot of flexibility, and I'm very lucky in my role for the flexibility. I just stay in constant communication with my leader on my needs, time off needs, or flexibility of coming in a little bit later or adjusting maybe my work schedule. Now, I also what I need, I also try to make sure to provide the same type of level within reason to those that I also lead. So I think what I would say to somebody else is a lot of just open communication, share what is important to you to share, but also only on a need to know basis because I am very, very private at work. And maybe it's because of the nature of my job and the role that I play in rooms, but I am very private at work. And that is very intentional. I actually got my promotion to this director level in the middle of the thick of Marcus's diagnosis journey last year. And during my performance review at the end of the year was when I had shared the Grin 2A with my leader, and she was just floored. She had no idea what I was going through at home, and she's like, "I don't know how you still show up every day for work." And I think that when I'm at work, I'm at work, and when I'm at home, I'm at home. And so while from the outside everything looked great, a lot of people just don't see like right the behind the scenes.
Somebody might not have that ability like you to set boundaries. What would
Yeah,
you recommend for them then?
that's a great question. Boundaries is always a challenging thing that I still personally battle too. And I wish there was a perfect system that I had or that I could share. I think what I would say is I always fall back on the circle of what I can control. And if it's going to make you feel good to be able to share and communicate with your colleagues or your manager and share those things, then do it. Because at the end of the day, your integrity is what you have. So if your intent of sharing is to ask for certain adjustments in your work, whether it's like for work responsibilities or short term, long term adjustments, that's okay to do. I have tried to learn how to let go of what I can't control. And so I learned that I can't do everything. And so I try to choose that I can't carry everything alone. And so trying to work with my colleagues, work with my leader, work with my husband. Realistically, what can I do today? Here's my priorities. What priorities can shift? And I did reach a point where I had to share with my leader on what was going on behind the scenes because I needed a lot of time off. And so I think it's if you have a good relationship with your leader and your colleagues, they will be understanding. I didn't want to be treated differently. I didn't want to be viewed as weak in the workplace. I had just gotten promoted. There's not a lot of women leaders, not a lot of people of color that work at my workplace either. I didn't want to be viewed as somebody that was distracted in the workplace. But I have had coworkers ask and reach out and just say, like, is everything okay? Because they can also tell. We spend a lot of time together that I'm not quite myself. And that just reminds you of like, there's a story you're never going to know. So always like lead or work with your colleagues with kindness. Always assume positive intent. I have a coworker that I just recently shared a little bit of this, sort of giving a little bit more information about Grin 2A because I just want to continue to share that information and part of that advocacy work. And so that coworker in particular, in order to support someone, she doesn't pry, but she checks in often. She listens when I talk. She includes me still. She still invites me to lunch, still asks to grab a coffee, and we still partner together all the time. What I didn't want to was like my actual work to change without my input. It's a
That's
lot of
fair.
fear. Hmm.
Yeah. What mindset shifts would have you implemented so that you can show up on even those hardest days? Like you said, you're getting off of a phone call with a doctor or you're reading test reports and then you have to go into that meeting. So what mantras, maybe mindset shifts do you use that could maybe help somebody else for a similar situation?
We can do hard things. I can do hard things. I can do this. I don't have to be everything for everyone all at once. There's going to be seasons when Marcus needs me more, Grayson needs me more, or my family just needs me more, or work needs to be a priority. So instead of constantly feeling guilty about where I was or wasn't, I started focusing more on being present where I was. So if I'm at work, I focused on work. If I'm at a doctor's appointment, I focus on Marcus and that appointment. If I'm at home with my family, I am. fully present at home. And I've learned to try to set better boundaries and just be more realistic about what I personally could take on that day. Try to be more intentional with delegating or asking for help or relying on another coworker or reprioritizing things that truly needed my attention. But the reality is like my family does come first. I work hard because I love what I do, because I need to and want to provide for my family. But at the end of the day, my family is why I work and not the other way around. Opportunities will come and go, and Grayson and Marcus deserve me being present while they're growing up. So that perspective helped me change my decisions too, and helps me allow to stop carrying tomorrow's problem today and be okay that I don't have all the answers all the time at work. And so part of that too is helping mentor others at work to be able to help out or step in if I am away from the desk for a little bit.
Yeah, what does that look like? What can other peoples do to give somebody grace in the workplace when they may not know the full story of what's going on, but they can sense that this person may be going through something right now? What's the best advice that you can give somebody?
Yeah, I think we are very intuitive as human beings and we're naturally all very curious. So we always know when that employee that used to be a rock star is a rock star, is all of a sudden distant or quieter than normal. And there's always going to be probably a story that we'll never know. I always encourage people to just seek, assume positive intent and that kindness, treat others with kindness, still invite people to lunch, grab a coffee, ask how their day was, and genuinely ask. Genuinely check in and ask about their family, their friends, their hobbies. And if they don't want to share, then just respect that boundary that they're not sharing. Don't pry. But see how they can how you could help alleviate some of the work responsibilities. I work on a team that's very, very good at checking in with each other on their workload and being able to adjust, or like, you seem preoccupied on this project, is there anything I can take off your plate, or is there anything I can help you with, or just kind of like insert yourself respectfully. And sometimes that small act of kindness can make a really big difference.
So, if there is somebody who wants to share, though, it's a priority for them to share with their colleagues what's going on in their life, what challenge they're facing. How does somebody go about bringing that type of conversation up with a coworker and colleagues?
Yeah, that is very tough. And I think being as authentic to them. Share the story. I have a 3-year-old son. His name's Marcus, and I just learned he has Grin2A. It's extremely rare. Not a lot of people know what that name is. It just simply means his brain is wired differently. And what that means for us is he has a lot of therapies that we have to attend. So speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and sometimes I'm distracted when I'm at work because I'm waiting for a doctor's call. So I might have to take a call at random. What would be really helpful is, this is what I need from work. This is how you can help support me at work, and be very specific. So you want to share and give that information, that personal information. Yeah, but at the same time, I think someone might need to add what they need from that person. And sometimes I don't know what I need right now, but I really needed to share that because I'm not trying to let my work slip. Just being honest, I'm not trying to let my work slip. I'm not trying to not pull my weight around here, but I have to admit I'm pretty distracted right now. And sometimes a leader might say, "Do you need some time off?" Right? That's always a common question to ask. Or a lot of it is, yeah, how do we help reduce your workload if that's feasible to do?
That's really good advice. And I'm sure I mean, if somebody does feel that they need to share that, it's going to be hard because they don't want people to think that they're not capable of doing their job, or they don't want to get overlooked. But employees should, as you know, shouldn't be doing that anyway, though, right? But there is a fear that comes with it.
Yeah, and that's very natural. Even best of us, the highest leaders have the same fear, I'm sure.
There comes a point in your life as a parent when you realize that you can't stay silent though anymore, right? Because now you're advocating, you're reaching out to local government, and you're creating awareness for Grin 2A. When did you realize when your, let's call it act to impact moment was? The moment when you decided that you did need to share your family story outside of the walls of your home?
If I am being completely honest, for a long time, I didn't want people to know. And because one, I'm a private person, as you can tell, but this journey has felt incredibly personal and vulnerable. Very emotional. I cry all the time. And sometimes I felt like in earlier that I didn't want to share this because I thought I was protecting my family, protecting Marcus from judgment, me from judgment, or protecting myself. I'm not sure. But Grin 2A is so rare, so incredibly rare. And when there's a diagnosis like that where only few people have heard of it and it's hard to Google, you can't find certain doctors, research, treatment, or even other families local to understand it. I needed to reach out. I needed to talk about it. I needed connection because I feel lonely all the time. I needed someone to tell me we've been there too. I wanted to know we were not alone. So initially sharing the story, I actually felt like I needed to find a community for myself. And somewhere along the line, things have shifted. I started hearing from other parents that are also scared, overwhelmed, grieving, balancing careers, families, siblings, all the same appointments while trying to hold things together. And I realize how powerful it is when someone is willing to say the harsh things out loud, no matter what emotions come with it. And not because they have all the answers, but just being willing to be honest and open. And I realize my story or Marcus's story is not just ours anymore. If hearing Marcus helps another family feel less alone, then sharing it matters. And that's what it's all about. If talking about the grief of expectations or the uncertainty or sibling dynamics and balancing careers, sharing matters, and educating one more person about Grin 2A can lead to better understanding or inclusion and acceptance for kids like Marcus, then makes all the vulnerability more worth it. I can be a leader and still struggle. I can still be professional while carrying something extremely heavy personally. I'm grateful and grieving, helpful and scared, strong and exhausted, and sometimes all at the same time. So I think my act to impact moment was really realizing vulnerability creates that connection.
Do you have a plan to use those skills and expertise to help others navigate a career and a caregiver outside of work?
I am trying to workshop. Honestly, I'm just trying to build the confidence
Okay.
in myself to try to do it.
This is a great start then.
Yes, it really is, and yeah, so I'm trying to workshop it, have had a lot of conversations with my husband, and I'm just trying to build the confidence in myself.
I think you'll do it.
And again, back to what I said earlier, I can do hard things.
Yes, you can. I can tell. I like that saying too. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite ones. So, for people listening who want to take meaningful action in their communities, what advice would you give them to make a real difference, just like you have?
I think sometimes people might overestimate what it takes to make a big difference. And the most meaningful impact I've experienced has come from ordinary people doing small things consistently. So, checking in with our family, sometimes bringing a meal or just offering support, being willing to listen, connect, and just continuing to be curious, patient, inclusive. The people who've impacted my family the most are the ones who've had answers. They take the time to listen. They meet Marcus where he is and instead of focusing on what he can't do, and they also include Grayson. And people still invite us and welcome our chaos and don't expect our family to fit a certain mold or to make them comfortable. Just simply make room for people like my family. And my advice is always simple, I think, is start where you are. There's no special expertise or big platform needed to start making a difference. I think the curiosity, patience, choose inclusion, spend time with people who may experience the world differently than you, make them feel seen, welcomed, and like they belong and accepted. And sometimes changing one person's world is how you just start beginning to change the world.
Mariah, thank you for being so open and sharing your family story. And as you said, you're a private person, and this is a step for you to share your advocacy work and educate others more on Grin 2A. So I thank you for really being open with me today about that.
Thank you for giving me this safe space and this platform to be able to talk and just for your time.
Yeah, keep using your voice. Okay, that is my advice to you. You have a
Thank you.
wonderful voice. You have so many wonderful things to say. I know you're going to be able to help so many other caregivers who are also work in have wonderful careers too and are trying to figure out how to navigate both as well as some of those fears and life challenges that come with it. You are really a true example of how you're still leading at home and at work with strength and grace. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so
Thank
much
you
for
so much.
reaching out. This was wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Act to Impact with Brandy DeVries. If this show ignited your fire and inspired you to take action to make an impact, please share this episode with a friend. Leave a 5-star review or write a review to let others know how this show impacted you. I can't wait to see the action you are taking to make an impact, and I'd love for you to share that with our community. Go ahead and tag me on social media as you're out making an impact in the world. Do you have a story to share and want to be a guest on Act to Impact? I'd love to connect